Hello, welcome for this session of video presentation, still on chapter 2. This time we will be looking at controls and variables. We will be looking at controls and variables. Controls and variables. So when we are carrying out or testing hypotheses that require experimenting, we have to provide, testing the hypothesis requires experimentation that provides data. Testing a hypothesis requires experimentation, that provides data to support that provides data to support or refute a hypothesis or theory, or refute a hypothesis or even a theory, So during testing, the experimental conditions that require constant are called controls. During testing, the experimental conditions that remain constant are called controls. That remain constant are called controls. And any condition that changes is called a variable. And any condition that changes is called a variable. So any change observed is usually due to the effect of the variable. If the testing reveals that the predictions were not correct, the hypothesis on which the predictions were based must be discarded or be modified. So we will take an example. Maybe we are having here two groups. Maybe we are having here two groups. So group 1 and then group 2. So these two groups, we want to carry experiments on them. Maybe we want to investigate. Our main purpose for this experiment is to investigate the effect. Investigate the effect of energy drink. So we want to look at the effect of energy drink. So we will have sample number 1 here will not be given the drink. These ones will be given the drink. Will be given the drink. So we want to look, will not be given the drink. So if they are not given the drink, then these ones will be the control. This will be the control. And the ones who are given it will be the experimental group, or the experimental group. So these ones, the independent variable. The independent variable, and this is, we are saying here, during testing the experimental conditions that remain constant are called controls. So if the conditions remain constant, they are not changed, then they are controlled. We call them controls. And if they change, we call them variables. And the conditions can only be changed if something has been done to them. So any change observed is usually due to effect of the variable. So there is always a variable here that is being tested. Like in this case, the variable is the energy drink, because we might be maybe observing at how much of it, maybe 0.3, 0.5, maybe 1 liter. 1 liter. So depending on the content, we will be seeing the effects of this drink. So this is the variable. So if testing reveals that the predictions were not correct, the hypothesis on which the predictions were based must be discarded, or either they must be modified. They must be modified. So let's go through a review. The scientific method is a process or steps taken to produce reliable results to answer a specific question. To answer a specific question. So we take an example here. You have a mobile phone. Maybe you have lost your mobile phone. There is an observation. Then you have to carry out research to find out where it went. Maybe you will create hypotheses, which are questions. Then after these questions, you will test to find out if this is true. If it happens that the place you thought the hypothesis at first maybe was a suggestion that it is found, that you maybe forgot it in the car, then you will go and observe, that is carrying out an experiment. You observe, you carry out an experiment, you find out that in the car, really you didn't leave it. You will have to observe the second time now, and in this case, you will observe again somewhere else. Maybe I forget it in my pocket, or you have to carry out more research. So to carry out more research, maybe you might need, you might propose to ask someone who was with you if they know where you might have left the phone. So you will have to construct a new hypothesis, and after that you will go to test your hypothesis by asking the guy, is all the people who are around, if any of them saw you carrying it, and then you will draw conclusion. So that is a scientific method. If we look at this model, we will see that it has its own drawbacks. So, it is not a one-loop thing, and it will always start from anywhere. It will start from anywhere. So from observation to research to hypothesis to experiment to conclusion to sharing results. It might reach conclusion, you go back to observation, or it may come from here and so forth. So observation, all that can be observed with five senses are what we are calling observation. It may be, and two, research. Research, what is research? When we look at research, we look at observations that we make. Is use of reliable sources to learn background information. Reliable sources should be not be blogs or some textbooks which may not be having information that is right. Then predictions of what you believe will occur is what we are calling a hypothesis. If then, and specific, so if gummy bears are placed in the water for 24 hours, then they will swell to over twice their original size. This is a hypothesis. So it can be proved by carrying out an experiment. So you can collect data, qualitative data, and quantitative data. This one is a description. This one is arithmetical. It's about numbers. So the data you collect will help you carry experiment. Then we have variables here, which may be either independent variables or dependent variables. The thing that you change is independent, and the thing that you measure is the volume of the bear. The volume here. So experiment. So experimental group has one independent variable altered. And the control group, all the other groups are compared to this normal. So there will be nothing carried out here. So experimental group, control group, independent, dependent, quantitative, correlative. So we'll go back a little bit, because this is what we are looking at here. Here, when we are looking at experiments, we will have variables. So the independent variables and the dependent variables. The things you change are what we are calling independent variable. If you are giving people For example, an energy drink, that is the independent variable, and dependent variable will be the results of the thing that we will measure, maybe the amount, the effects of the different amounts of it onto people. Here we say placing in water, for example, for this experiment that was being carried here. Experimental group has one independent variable altered, and control group, all the other groups are compared to this normal. So bears water, this will be dry. Experimental group and control group. This is what we are looking at. So experimental group is the group that we will carry, we will be observing. And what do we do here? What we will do is simple. We will, first of all, alter one of the variables. The independent variable will be altered, and it will give us the dependent variables normally will give us the results here, and they can be measured qualitatively or quantitatively. So hope this helps you get what we mean. The control will not be altered, it will remain the same. So, and the experimental group is the one which will be altered, and as it is altered, we will end up with the dependent variables changing. So let's go and see how this happens here. So here, the scientific method, the scientific method is not a single trend process. Scientists may repeat steps many times. They may repeat many times before there is sufficient evidence to formulate a theory. So you don't just make a theory without repeating these tests. So you have to repeat these tests severally. So you can use these, each steps represent a number of different activities. So stages in scientific method. We have observing, we have in formulating, we have testing, we have theory, and publishing results. So, in observing, collecting data or collecting information, with measuring, experimenting, communicating. Hypothesis, analyzing the data, observing, inferring, predicting, experimenting, communicating, collaborating data, measuring. Here, constructing models, making predictions, and communicating. So, not sufficiently, not supported or rejected hypothesis. So this is now testing. If it has been rejected, it will go back to formulating another hypothesis. It will go back to formulating another hypothesis. Published. It has been published, results confirmed by other scientists. It's a valid theory, but still it is liable to testing again by another group of scientists who may come up with a different idea and maybe to refute this statement. So we will stop here for this video, and in the next video we will look at how models are used. We will look at how models are used. Hope you got some benefit here, and wish you all the best.